Good afternoon, everyone. We will start shortly. I have 5:54, so we have about 5 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Demarid. Mr. Demarid, I have a confession.
Wait. I'm not a priest.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to do the handout. I really got consumed this weekend. The homework I submitted, but I didn't get a chance to go over this.
That's okay. The handout we're doing in class anyway. So you'll have a chance to work with it as the rest of us do. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you.
All right, folks, I think we can begin. I trust everybody can see my screen and hear me. You're going to need your microphones for much of this class because we're going to spend a lot of time going through the exercise that I emailed to everybody previously. Right. But quick recap. We had concluded at least our initial look at some of the foundational elements of economics in general. And what we wanted to do was start transitioning into our understanding of macroeconomics specifically. That is the study of the nation's economy as a whole. We talked about the fact that if we're going to look at a nation's economy as a whole, three big areas that are going to require our attention is economic output, commonly defined as gross domestic product, employment or unemployment, if you will, and inflation or cost of living, if you're going to use the local vernacular. The first thing we did, though, we wanted to define what we meant by GDP. We said GDP, or gross domestic product, is the total dollar value of final goods and services produced in an economy in a given period, usually a year. And we said there are three approaches to measuring this. One, we can measure the value of the physical goods produced by the economy. So we can measure the value of goods produced, and that's called the expenditure approach. Or we can measure the income generated from the sale of those goods and services. That's called the income approach. Or we can measure the value added at each stage of the production process or each stage of services rendered. And that's called the value added approach. Now, whether you're measuring the value of your inventory, whether you're measuring the money earned at the cash register, or whether you're measuring the value added at each step of the process, we're still talking about the same stuff. We're still talking about the same economy. We're still talking about the same goods and services. So however we measure it, we should come up to the same value regardless of the way we go about measuring our economic output. So then we wanted to look at the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP. Nominal GDP, we said, is the total dollar value of final goods and services produced in an economy in a given period, and we measure those final goods and services using the prices prevailing at that time, which is called current prices. So to calculate nominal GDP, we simply take the number of items produced during that year and might multiply them by the price of those items in that year. That gives us nominal GDP. It's the dollar value of final goods and services produced in the economy in a given period, measured using the current prices. On the other hand, real GDP is our attempt to measure our output and by stripping out any extraneous impact on economic output. Things like inflation, we're trying to strip away. So in order to do that, we said, okay, we're going to measure the dollar value of final goods and services produced in the economy in a given period, but we're going to measure those using prices prevailing in what we call our base year. And we call those current prices. Our base year, we said, is a year when not very much is happening, right? And for us, that allows us to look at a year where we think there is no extraneous impact on the value of production and production services. Okay? So to calculate real GDP then, we take the items produced during that year, but we multiply them by their respective base year prices. So although in our example, these items were produced in 2003, we go back to 2000, which was our base year, and we look at the price of these items in 2000, and that's what we use to calculate real GDP for 2003. Right? We use the production in 2003, but we go back to the prices that were prevailing in our base year, which in this case was 2000. The base year is not always the same year because over time, economies change and develop and improve, technology improves. So your statistical agency, in our case, this is the Department of Statistics, would periodically go back and look at and reevaluate its base year. So in our example, our base year was 2000, and generally speaking, the base year tends to change every 5 years or so because it's generally assumed that after 5 years, your economy has changed so much that it's no longer appropriate to use that old base year. So you have to come up with a new base year. Okay. Here's our definition of base year. The other thing that we wanted to talk about that was that when we talk about economic output, generally we look at the growth in economic output over a period of time, as opposed to just looking at the absolute value of GDP in any given period of time. I say the growth rate, which you usually write as a lowercase letter g, is the way we look at to determine if our economy is growing or not. And the G is the percentage change in economic output over the course of a given period. So for example, if we're looking for how much the economy grew in 2000, so we're looking at how much the economy grew between 2000 and 2001. So what we need to do then is look at how much the economy grew in 2000 and compare it to how much the economy grew in 2001. And to calculate any percentage change, it's always new minus old divided by old. And if we translate that to our GDP growth, then we're talking about new GDP, or what we call current GDP, minus the previous year's GDP divided by the previous year's GDP. GDP at time t, which is our current time period. T is always our current time period. T minus 1 is one period in the past. So it will be last year. So it's current GDP minus the previous year's GDP divided by the previous year's GDP. And that gives us economic growth. And of course, we convert it to a percentage. That gives us economic growth. And the other last little sort of mathematical, technical little issue we wanted to look at was the GDP rule of 70. Not terrible, there's not a lot of economics behind it, but it's a very interesting mathematical exercise. Okay. What we did then, we said, okay, we have a set of output calculations for various parts of our economy. And we wanted to use that information to see if we can determine gross domestic product for our economy, gross national product, and we've defined net national product, national income, personal income, and personal disposable income, given these information data that we've received about our economy. And basically, these are just plugging them into our various formulas. We know the formula for GDP, C plus I plus G plus X minus M, that is consumption by households, consumption by businesses, government purchases, and exports minus imports. We want to be able to calculate gross national product, which is our gross domestic product plus income earned by Bahamians living abroad, net national product, national income, and personal disposable income. And we will go through that exercise today and see if we can determine exactly each of those items as we go along. So that brought us to our recap of our discussion of economics, our discussion of GDP, and that we covered most of last class. The next issue that we want to take on is our whole discussion about employment. If you're going to talk about how any economy is growing and developing and improving, you have to look at the people. Right? And employment data, employment statistics is all about how the individuals in an economy is interacting and contributing to that economy. So a number of definitions that we want to make sure we get straight before we move on. The first is that we want to properly define what we mean by unemployment. Unemployment is not simply someone who doesn't have a job. Right? Unemployment, in its very precise technical definition, is the total number of people who who currently do not have a job, either full-time or part-time, but who are actively looking, and you have to be actively looking within the past 30 days. Right? Actively meaning you went on a job interview, you filled out an application form, you actually made some effort towards finding a job. You weren't sitting at home waiting for somebody to call you that maybe when they get elected, they can have a job for you. No. To be considered unemployed by our statistical agency, Department of Statistics, you have to meet certain criteria. One, you're not working, either part-time or full-time. Okay, that's obvious. But two, you are actively looking or have been actively looking within the past 30 days. If you haven't been actively looking within the past 30 days, sorry, you are not considered technically unemployed. Yes, you say you don't have a job, but as far as our statistical agency, and not just ours, any statistical agency will tell you, as far as they're concerned, you are not unemployed because you haven't been actively looking within the last 30 days. First definition. Then we want to define what we mean by the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is the percentage of the labor force that's currently unemployed. Well, that doesn't mean anything to us unless we understand what we mean by labor force. And again, we talk about a very precise definition. In this case, the labor force is individuals in the population between the ages of 18 and 65. Before 18, certainly in the case of the Bahamas, you're supposed to be in school by law. Over the age 65, you're supposed to be retired. So we don't count children in school, and we don't count people who have retired as part of the labor force. We also don't count college students unless you are in college in the Bahamas and you have a part-time or a full-time job. If that's the case, yes, you're still part of the labor force. If you are a student outside the Bahamas, job or no job, you're not part of the labor force. Labor force is a domestic calculation. We also don't include in the labor force people in long-term hospice care. That is, if you are in Doctor's Hospital, PMH, or Sandilands for more than 30 days. In that case, you are not considered part of the labor force. We also don't count persons in prison as part of the labor force. So the labor force is individuals in the population between 18 and 65 who do not fall into any of those criteria that we mentioned previously. So labor force is everybody who's working and everybody who is technically unemployed. Other definitions. The labor force participation rate. So that is the percentage of the labor force as opposed to the population as a whole. Right? Those persons 18 to 65 relative to the total population. Right? So if you think about our situation, the Bahamas has roughly 450,000 residents, Bahamians. We're not counting non-Bahamians here. Roughly 450,000 Bahamians, but our labor force is, give or take a couple of hundred one way or the other, is right around 180, 190,000. So you have 190,000 people in our labor force, and you realize then for an economy that's roughly 9 billion, that is not a lot of people. And we have not even begun talking about persons in the labor force who are undereducated, lack of training, etc. Right? That is just sheer number of persons available to work in the labor force, either employed or unemployed as determined by Department of Statistics. Roughly 190,000, even some people push it up to 200,000. Yeah, that's still a very small number of persons for an economy that's as large and as diversified as ours is. Other persons in our economy discourage workers. It's people who look for work in the recent past, So it's been past 30 days that you stopped working, but you were looking, at least in the last 3 months. Yeah, but things tough, and you say, okay, I can sit back and wait for things to clear up. You gave up due to the lack of opportunity, but you can, for sure, in the last 90 days, you did some looking, right? But you were discouraged because of the situation you see out there. You are considered a discouraged worker. Mind you, you're not unemployed because you've not been working and you haven't been looking for the last 30 days. So you're not unemployed, you fall out of the labor force altogether, but we consider you a discouraged worker. Then we have those persons who are considered underemployed. Someone who's working part-time, but would work full-time if they could, or someone who has a job well below their capabilities. Now, we need to be clear here, not well below what you think your capabilities are. Because you have people who, listen, I barely made it out of high school, but I'm sure I could run the bank if they give me a chance. No, right? Someone who's working part-time but would work full-time if they could, or someone who has a job that is well below their capabilities, underemployed. Now, there are 3 types of employment that we want to look at and be able to calculate that within our economy. The first type of unemployment is what we call cyclical unemployment, or employment that reflects the business cycle. An economy goes up and down, and we'll talk about those over the next couple of weeks. Right? And these are what we have a shorthand for these type of people. All right, this type of unemployment accompanies fluctuations in real GDP. Persons most often affected are individuals with little skills, education, or experience. Let me make that grammatical correction. There's a comma there, and there's an R there. All right. Often we refer to these people as LIFOs, last in, first out. These are persons who are only hired in times of exceptionally economic growth, things good, and you just need a warm body in the store, right? Or you just need somebody on your construction site who can lift, tote, and carry. All right? You're not asking them to hammer nothing, or nail nothing, or measure nothing. You just want somebody with a strong back. All right? These are persons who only hired in times of exceptional economic growth and expansion, and these persons are usually made redundant soon as things slow down. So it's the last people you're likely to hire and the first person you can let go. And things have to be really, really good for you to bring them on. And first time things buck up, well, So to calculate the cyclical unemployment rate is the total number of cyclically unemployed persons divided by the labor force. Then we have what's called frictional unemployment. The persons who are frictionally unemployed, this is the type of unemployment that naturally occurs during the normal workings of an economy because people are in the process of changing jobs, or they're moving between cities and moving between islands. So for example, you live in Freeport, but you got a job in New Providence, which means, of course, you need to relocate. Now, you have already signed an employment agreement with the new company, and they usually, if they're any kind of decent company, they give you 30 days to get settled. Right? So technically, you haven't started with the new company yet, even though you've signed the contract, and you have already resigned from your previous company. But from an economic perspective, we're not terribly worried about you because we know you're just changing jobs or changing islands. So technically you're unemployed because you're not working and you were looking in the last 30 days, but you got a new job, right? So you're not somebody we're terribly worried about. Right? And finally, structural unemployment. These are what we call hardcore unemployment. This is the toughest for any economy to deal with. This type of unemployment occurs because of a mismatch between the jobs available and the skills of workers. This is the case where, let's say you have an economic downturn like 2008 economic crisis. You have a 9/11. You have a COVID situation where the hotel lay off a bunch of people. And the problem is that the only thing you know how to do is work in a hotel. So if there are no more hotel jobs available for you, what do you do? Right? These type of individuals, it's hardest for the economy to deal with because the kind of skills that they have, there are no jobs for those type of skills. So there's a mismatch between the jobs that are available and the skills of these workers. For them to get a new job now, they need to go back to school, they need additional training, they need something. Right? Otherwise, there's no hope for them in terms of finding a job given their existing skills. Right? Structural unemployment or hardcore unemployment. And the structural unemployment rate is those persons who are considered structurally unemployed divided by the labor force. So you would note, I'll go back two more. Cyclical unemployment rate, those persons who are cyclically unemployed divided by the labor force. Frictional unemployment, those who are frictionally unemployed divided by the labor force. Structural unemployment rate, those who are structurally unemployed divided by the labor force. In each case, we're looking at the percentage of the labor force that fall into each of these categories. Okay. I think we have enough to begin looking at our exercise for the day. Let's see. I'm looking at my class list and Ms. Bain is the top of my class list because she happened to have a last name that begins with B. So I'm gonna need her to be my MC for our exercise. So Ms. Bain, if you wouldn't mind, you should have the Word document of our exercise and we will work it out as you walk us through it. The exercise that you're looking at now is exactly the same as what I sent to you. Right? We have a fictional country of Monrovia. And Monrovia has a population of 5 million. Ms. Bain, if you take over, please.
Okay, sorry. I'm struggling to see because I'm on my phone. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you remember I couldn't get on my laptop.
All right, fine. Then we will, Mr. Curry is next up.
Okay. That's fine. The fictional country of
Monrovia.
The fictional country of Monrovia has a population of 5 million, of which 4,670,000 are between the ages of 18 and 65. A total of 866,875 persons are not working, but are actively looking for work within the last 30 days. An additional 142, I was reading it off of what you had. Let me see.
An additional 140, persons, sorry.
Sorry, an additional 142,500 require additional education and or training. 118,750 are transitioning from one job to another. 1,330,000 are working at jobs well below their capabilities, and 406,125 have given up because things are so bad. Finally, 593,750 persons have been laid off due to economic reasons.
Okay, so now let's have some fun. Mr. Curry,
yes, sir.
If you would go to the top of our exercise, the top of our handout,
Mhm. Using the data from the table above for the small nation of Monrovia, please determine the following. The first being the GDP.
Okay, so let's hold on a second. Now, let me bring up new share, and let's see. Can you guys see my Excel spreadsheet?
Mhm.
All right, so let me go to here. Here's my GDP. Let me see if I can do this. All right, so I brought it over to the middle of the screen. And so, Mr. Curry,
That's up.
we're trying to do the first exercise. All right, and you said we're calculating GDP.
Yes, sir.
So, folks, I have put together my spreadsheet for GDP, and let me go back to my presentation, all the way up to what we think GDP is. All right. And we see GDP is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then, let me bring back up my Excel spreadsheet. And we said GDP is C plus I plus G, C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Fine. So anyone want to start filling this in? What's consumption? If you guys have your word.
12,200,200.
12, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
12.2, yeah.
Yes, sir. 12.2 million.
All right, so what you need to give me is all the digits. That way, you know, and this, so it'll be 12, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That
Okay.
way
Yes,
I
sir.
don't make a mistake. What
All
about
right.
investment?
5,500,000.
500,000.
5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
500,000.
Sorry, so 5, 5, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
All right, government purchases.
7,800,000.
7, 8, 0,
000.
0, 0, 0, 0.
Yes, sir.
All right, net exports.
Negative 2,300,000.
2, 3, 0,
000.
0, 0, 0, 0.
Yes.
Ooh, okay, all right, so let's see. Let me format cells, number. I just want to make it red. So then, we have determined, and you can check this out for yourself when you get a chance, and see if my formula is correct. But I got GDP
is.
at 23,200,000.
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Curry, what else we need to calculate?
Okay. Gross national product.
Okay, so gross national product is what? The formula. It's GDP.
GDP plus
Oops, sorry. Equals GDP plus Okay. Let's see. Where is my presentation? GDP plus net income earned abroad. See, I'm 2.
So that would be answer to number 1 plus.
Let me bring back my thingy. All right. So that's a 23.2 that we got from GDP. You see, I just brought that down.
Mhm.
What's my net income earned abroad?
800,000.
800,000. That
Yes,
gives
sir.
me a GNP of 24 million. My math is right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's see. All right, fine. What's next, Mr. Curry?
Net national product.
All right, net national product. Let's bring up my thingy. Net national product, we said, is GNP minus depreciation. All right.
Depreciation
Yeah.
being
GNP we brought down because we already calculated
24
24 million.
Mhm.
Depreciation is what?
1,100,000.
1,100,000.
Yes.
yes, sir.
So we ended with net national product of 22,900,000.
Yes, sir.
All right, fine. What's next?
The next thing is national income approach 1.
Okay, so let's see. National income approach 1 is
Direct
NNP
sales.
minus indirect taxes. And
Right.
one example they give us was a sales tax, right? Okay, so here's my NNP that I brought down, 22.9. So I need my indirect taxes. Do we have an indirect tax? Do we have a sales tax or something similar?
You have
Sales tax.
we have
Yes,
So we
900,000.
actually do have a sales tax of
900,000.
900,000.
Yes.
yes, sir.
So we had a national income 1 of 22 million. Now, national income 2, we know in the real world should come out exactly to be 22 million as well. All right. But for our classroom purposes, we may look at a different way. We may come up with a different number, but let's see if that happens. Now, national income, the second way of calculating it, national income 2, employees' compensation, proprietors' income, rents, interest, corporate profits. We're missing dividends. Oh, because we didn't have any dividends in that previous example.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. So all we're looking at is any kind of money that we would earn. All right. So then,
9,600,000.
Let's see.
Employee compensation.
9,600,000.
Mhm.
Proprietors' income.
3,700,000.
3,700,000. All right, rental income.
2
To
million.
the bottom, 1
2 million.
1,000,002, 1.2.
No, rental.
Oh, retained profit, sorry.
So
Two
which-
9
2,900,000.
2.9.
2,900,000.
2,900,000.
Right.
All right, interest.
That would be dividends, 1.6? No.
No, interest is not dividends. Interest is money you get on bonds.
2,800,000.
Dividends is what you get in from shares. So 2,800,000.
Mhm.
What about dividends?
That's 1.6.
Mhm.
1.6 million.
1,600,000. And corporate profits.
1.2.
1,200,000. And in our case, let's see, let's make sure employees' compensation was 9.6.
Mhm.
I'm asking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Proprietors' income was 3.7.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Rental income was 2.9.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Interest was 2.8.
Yes, sir.
Dividends was 1.6.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And corporate profits is 1.2.
Yes, sir.
All right, so national income we turned out to be 21.8, not too far off 22. So in the real world, they would be identical, but for our purposes, we made sure the numbers were different. Now, what's the next question, sir? Curry.
Personal income.
That's it?
Yes, please use national income approach. Number 2.
Ah, that's important. Because if you use number 1, you'd be wrong. And then you want to get back to me when I told you very clear, use number 2. So number 2, 21.8, you see, I just brought it down from what we calculated previously. And what's personal income formula? Let's see. Personal income formula is, here it is.
Yeah.
National income plus transfers minus retained profits, right?
Yes.
All right, so let me go back to my Excel spreadsheet. I need transfers.
1.7 million.
1,700,000 and retained profits.
1.2.
1.2 million.
1,200,000. All right. Does that look right? What's the difference between transfers and retained profits? Transfers is 1.7 and retained profits is 1.2. So the difference is 500,000, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So that 21.8 plus 500, yeah, that's right, 22.3.
Yeah, that's right. Mhm.
All right. And lastly, Mr. Curry.
Personal disposable income.
All right, our DPI. All right, fine. Let's see. Our formula for DPI is personal income minus income tax. All right. So let's see. Personal income, what's our income tax?
2,100,000.
2,100,000. And lo and behold, we have a DPI, or our take-home pay for the country as a whole, of 20,200,000.
Boy,
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, shoot.
This could be interesting.
But all you need to do is plug it into the formulas.
Yeah, I did that. I had all my figures right. All my answers wrong.
How do you?
I
How can
don't
you
know.
possibly get
I
all
don't
your
know.
figures right,
I get a
but all
list
your
of
answers wrong?
everything. I don't know.
Transpose numbers, Denise.
But no, I think I started off, when you start off initially, like from number
Okay.
2, like
So you got
answer
your
was
GDP
wrong.
wrong first?
I got the GDP right. That's the only thing I got right. From there, everything was wrong.
I think
So,
it's.
yeah,
Could
I
it be
had
Go
something
ahead,
wrong.
Denise.
I did something wrong on number 2, and after that, everything went wrong. I had, like I said, all the figures correct. So
Okay.
I just added the wrong thing somewhere, and that was it.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So what's our next question, Mr. Curry?
okay. Note briefly, please show all working. Use the table above to answer the following. What is the value of the nominal GDP for Monrovia in 1998?
So this is nominal versus real GDP.
Yes.
All right. So let me bring up our project. Let's see. I need this. All right. So nominal versus real GDP. Let's see if I can find the presentation so we know what we're dealing with. Okay. Here's nominal GDP. I said, and the question asked for nominal GDP in 2008?
In 1998.
1998. Okay, so here's our calculation for nominal GDP. Nominal GDP, we said, is calculated by simply taking the items produced in 1998 and multiply them by their price in 1998. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so let me bring up my Excel spreadsheet. And if you would notice, oops, this is 0. So here is, would you agree that these are the items that were produced in 1998? It says Monrovia national output 1998.
Yes.
And your handout should look like mine: coal, 900,000, timber, pulp, paper, mink, furs, caviar. Obviously, this is a cold country, but they have trees and they have coal in the ground. So it sounds like Eastern Europe somewhere. Okay, and here's the price of these items in 1998. So the value of coal, and correct me if I'm doing this right, 900,000 times 1.75, because that's the price prevailing in 1998. Oops. So let's go equal 900,000 times 1.75. Somebody calculate, see if I got that first one right.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Okay, so if I got that one right, let's bring the next one down. Here, 300,000 tons of timber, or whatever unit it is, at 755. I got 2,265,000.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all ain't just saying that, right?
Oh,
All right. So if you have pulp, that, mashed up wood, 500,000 tons of that at $11 a ton, 5.5 million.
Yep.
look good to me.
All right. What about paper? 1.2 million tons of paper at $15 a ton. I got 18 million exactly.
Yes, sir.
All right. And mink furs, 100,000 tons of mink, they gonna kill these poor animals at $22 a ton. And that works out, I got 2.2 million.
Yes, sir.
And finally, caviar, 20,000 cans of caviar at $30 a can. I got $600,000.
That's right.
So that gives us a nominal GDP for Monrovia in 1998 of $30,140,000. We just took the production in 1998 and multiply that by the price prevailing in 1998. Everybody still with me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, fine. Mr. Curry.
Right. The next question is, what is the value of real GDP for Monrovia in 1998? 1995 is the most recent base year.
All right, so let's go back to our class notes. Okay, here's our nominal GDP, real GDP. Okay, let's see. All right, here's our calculator for real GDP. Real GDP is the dollar value of final goods and services produced in the economy in a given period, usually a year, as measured using constant prices. That is the price prevailing in the base year. All right. So to calculate real GDP, we take the items produced during that year and multiply them by their respective base year prices. All right. So we need the production in that year, but we're using the price from the base year. So let's go back to our Excel spreadsheet. Now, what did they say was the base year, Mr. Curry?
1995.
Most recent base year was 1995. So here
Yes.
we have the prices in 1995. So they said we used the production in 1998, but we used the price in 1995. So my Excel spreadsheet would be equals, here's my production times the 1995 price. So I'm gonna check that first one for me, please. It's the production, it's 900,000, but we're multiplying that by the $1.70.
That's right.
1,530,000.
That's all.
All right, fine. What about timber? I got 2,250,000.
Yep.
And pulp, I got 500,000 tons times 1075.
That's correct.
All right. So you would notice that the prices in 1995 seem to be slightly lower than the price in 1998. So what that
Yes, I
means is one possibility is that there's been some amount of inflation between 1995 and 1998. And that's why we see the price slightly higher in 1998. So let's continue. We have 1.2 million tons of paper at 14.85 a ton. I got 17,820,000.
That's correct.
And mink furs, 100,000 mink furs at 21.75.
2,175,000.
Oh, good woman. And finally, caviar, 20,000 cans, but now they're at $29 a can.
580,000.
So now we see real GDP for Monrovia in 1998 was 29,730,000. So we see the real value is slightly lower than the nominal value of GDP for this country in 1998. Just so you know, your homework that I'm giving you on Wednesday will look exactly like what you have in your hands now, except I will play around with the numbers. On that bright note, Mr. Curry.
Determine the growth rate, G, of the real GDP in 1998.
Okay, so they're asking us to calculate real growth rate. Sorry, they actually calculate growth rate, which is our lowercase g. So let's go back to our class notes. All right. And how do we calculate G? Here you go. It is current GDP minus new minus old divided by old. So if we want, bear this in mind, I'm sure you have your notes in front of you. Let's go back to our Excel spreadsheet. So to calculate, and we're looking at this first box here that I'm highlighting it, growth rate in 1998. We need to be careful here because when you get a box with just a list of GDPs, absolute GDPs, you want to make sure that you pick out the right number when you're calculating your lowercase g. So if you're trying to find the growth of GDP in 1998, you can only look at how much the economy grew in 1998 after you've passed 1998. For example, right now, you cannot tell me what the growth rate of the Bahamas GDP is in 2021.
No.
Because you're still in 2021. You
Right.
won't know that until you get to next year and you're looking back.
Right.
So what that means is then, when you're looking at the growth rate in 1998, you said, okay, how much did the economy grow between 1998 and 1999? So you need what GDP was in 1998, what GDP is in 1999, and that will tell you how much it grew in that period. So calculate the growth rate in 1998, we need GDP in 1999, because in essence, they're saying we're sitting in 1999. So 1999 would be GDP at time t. And 1998 would be one period T minus 1. So it'll be 1999 minus 1998 divided by 1998. So since you guys have the calculator, what's absolute GDP in 1999? Where's my table?
30 million,
30,890,000.
890.
All right, so I plug that in, and my GDP in 1998 was
30
30
million.
million
140.
40 000.
Now, I have created a formula, and it came out to 2.4884. So on your calculator, do this for me, please. 3890,000 minus 30,140,000, and then divide that by 30,140,000. Tell me what you got. So it's new minus old, and then divide whatever you got from that by the old. So it's new minus old divided by old.
3889.
No, okay, let's see. Try it again.
389000.
Right,
Minus
that's the new,
314000
that's the old. So you get new minus old.
divided by 314000.
Yes.
I got 3889.
You know what you did wrong?
Got that same
No.
thing.
You clear your brackets first.
Mm.
So it's 3890,000 minus 3140,000, enter.
3109110.
Okay, now divide that by 3140,000.
Yeah, so it's 0.0248838.
Sorry?
0.0248838.
0.024883.
87, actually.
You mean that number there?
Well, yeah, round it up. It is. Yes, sir.
All right then. So then, and we convert that. How do you convert that to a percentage?
You times it by 100.
Thank you very much. And let's times that by 100, and we get
0.0.
2.4884%.
You mean 2.5%?
Oh yeah, you could go 2.5.
That's what I got.
Now, if you want to go 2 decimal places, that's fine. You end up with
2.49.
2.49%.
Yeah, so
2.5%, I'm perfectly happy with. All right, fine. Let's do the same thing. The next question, Mr. Curry.
okay. The next question entails determine the growth rate small g, of real GDP in 1999.
All right, so we do the same thing now, but for 1999. So in fact, we're standing in year 2000 and looking back. So 2000 will be our current year. And what's our current GDP in 2000?
29,750,000.
29,750,000. So I plug that in. And what's my GDP for 1999?
30,890,000.
All right, fine. Okay, let's go back to your calculator. New minus old, enter. And then the result of that, you divide by the old.
So you should get negative 0.03690, which is negative 3.7%. Yeah.
I would wait for everybody to catch up with you.
Sorry.
All right. Everybody ready to go on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, got it.
Okay, good. See, once you struggle through the first one and you figure out, okay, this is how it has to go, and the rest becomes fairly routine. All right, last one, Mr. Curry, we want to know growth rates in 2000.
Yes, sir.
So that means we're standing in 2001 and looking backwards. 2001 then would be our current year. All right. So our current GDP is what?
31,210,000.
31,210,000. And in 2000, what was our GDP?
29,750,000. 29,750,000.
750,000. So it increased between 2000 and 2001.
Yes.
But if we look in the previous example, we can see straight from the numbers before we even do the calculation that the economy was slower between 1999 and 2000.
That's correct.
All right, fine. So what do we get?
We get
4.9.
0.049075 or 4.91%. Well, 4.9%.
Oh, all right. So then, can you do this when you see this again come Wednesday or Thursday when you roll over?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Demerit,
Yes, sir.
on the exams, will we have all of the formulas or will we have to memorize
Yes.
all of them?
No, I almost never ask you to memorize formulas.
Thank you, Jesus.
My concern is
Praise
that you can use the formulas. Okay, so how far are we, Mr. Curry?
Okay, sorry. The next thing, if we assume an average growth rate of 1.5%, how much years would it take for GDP to double from its current level?
All right, so we need to go back to our class notes. So that, okay, so we're talking about GDP doubling. That's the rule of 70, right?
Yes.
All right. So the rule of 70 says we just divide 70 by whatever G is. Did they tell us what G is? Growth
Yes.
rate. All right. So they tell us G. So we go back to our Excel spreadsheet, and it's a simple calculation. It just equals 70 divided by 1.5. What do we get?
I got 46.67.
Years.
Yep. Yes, yes.
So since there's no, well, you could have on 2/3 of a year, because 667 is 2/3. So 46 years and 2/3 of a year, which 2/3 is what? All the way to September?
8 months. Yeah. Yeah.
No, August.
Yeah. The end
The
of
year is
yeah,
12
yeah,
months,
August.
so it's every 4 months. Yeah, August, sorry. You're
Yeah.
quite right.
August. Yeah.
46 years and all the way to August of the next year before our economy doubles.
Wow.
It's interesting, but okay. Okay, it's just simply 70 divided by G, whatever G is. In this case, G is 1.5. So let's say G was now 2%. It'll be
35 years.
70 divided by 2. It'll take us, oops. it'll take us 35 years. And if GDP, if we're growing at 2.5% per year, it'll be 70 divided by 2.5. It will take us 28 years for our GDP to double.
Will we ever see those numbers?
Sorry?
Will we ever see those numbers?
What, GDP doubling? Or you mean
Yeah.
growing by 2.5%?
Yeah.
Sure, why not? Yeah, and we have to rebound from where we are now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Mr. Curry, where are we?
Okay. Now we're at number 14.
All right.
The fictional country of,
Oh, this is employment stuff.
yes, this is the employment part. The fictional
Okay.
country of Monrovia has a population of 5 million, of which 4,670,000 are between the ages of 18 and 65. A total of 866,875 persons are not working, but are actively looking for work within the last 30
Okay,
days.
tell you what, whoa. Okay, that's too many numbers for us to remember off the top of our head.
Oh, my apologies.
No problem. So I've created, okay, so this is what we have. You should be able to see my screen now. Right? This is the same thing, yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, let's go to our Excel spreadsheet, and all we're doing is filling in numbers. All right. So based on what Mr. Curry is saying, what's the population?
5 million.
5 million, so it's 5,000,000. Labor force,
Labor force would be equal to 4,670,000.
how did you get that? 4,670,000? You sure?
Because they are the people.
Let me bring it up.
Between the age of 18 and 65.
Let's see. 5 million, fictional country Monrovia has population 5 million, check, of which 4,670 are between 18 and 65. That looks like labor force.
Gravy to me. That's gravy to me.
Sorry?
That's gravy to me. Look good.
Okay. Now, a total of 866,875 are not working, but actively looking within the last 30 days. What does that sound like? Actively looking. So let's go to our, what? Are you looking at my class notes now?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so let's see if I can go. We're looking for
Unemployment.
not working, but look for last 30 days. Yes, that's unemployment. All right, so that's a total of 866,875 are unemployed. So let's go to my Excel spreadsheet. Unemployed, here's my column here, and we said that amount was how much?
That was 866,875.
866. Sorry,
875.
866,875.
Yes, sir.
Okay, hang on, let me fix that because I need format cells, numbers. I don't need decimal places, but I need the 1,000 separator. Okay, so I have population of 5 million, labor force is 4,670, and total unemployed is 866,875.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's go back to our thingy. So that's 866,875. An additional 142,500 require additional education or training. Now, who are these people? Additional education and training. They're not cyclically unemployed, right? Those are LIFOs, last in, first out. They're not frictional unemployed because they're between jobs.
Structural?
They look like structural, right?
Yes.
It said this type of employment occurs between a mismatch. Individuals need education and training.
Mm.
Right?
Okay.
Education and training. All
Right.
So those are structural unemployment. So let's go back to my Excel spreadsheet. Oops, where am I? New share. All right, and Mr. Curry, how much are those? No, those are structural unemployed. So
Structural,
those are SU. And how much are those?
142,500.
142,500.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's go back to Monrovia. So that's 142,500 structural unemployed because they need education and training. 118,750 between jobs, transitioning from one job to another.
Frictional unemployment.
You say that's frictional?
Yes, sir.
This type of unemployment occurs, okay, yes,
Yeah.
people between jobs. Right, fine. Let's go to back to my Excel spreadsheet. Frictional unemployment, that's FUs. And how much are those?
118,750.
750. All right, fine. Let's go back to Monrovia.
1,300,000 are working at
I don't know
jobs
what you're
that
talking about yet. Oops, where am I? I've lost. Oh, here you go. Okay, so we got the 118,750. We said those are frictionally unemployed. Then we have 1,330,000 working at jobs well below their capabilities.
Which one is that? Which one?
Well below their capabilities.
Underemployed.
Someone who's working part-time, but will work full-time, or
Oh.
someone who has a job well below their capabilities, underemployed.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, all right, fine. So let's go back to my Excel spreadsheet. Underemployed, that's my UE. And how much we said that is? 1,330,000.
330,000. Yes, sir.
All right, fine. So we only have two categories left. We have cyclically unemployed, and we have total, we have discouraged. Right, so let's go back to Monrovia. All right, so let's go back to Monrovia. Okay, so we did the 133,000 and 406,125 have recently given up because things are so bad.
discouraged.
That sounds like discouraged. I agree with you. All right, so that sounds like discouraged. So where's my Excel spreadsheet? Discouraged, what's that total?
406,125.
406.
125.
125. And now we need cyclically unemployed. All right, let's go back.
593.
Now, you know this, or you're assuming that's the only one we haven't accounted for?
That's the only one we haven't accounted for.
Yeah, that ain't a good idea.
LIFO.
Okay, so in this case, you're quite correct. Finally, 5,933,750 persons have been laid off due to economic reasons. All right, so go back to my Excel spreadsheet. And how much are those?
593.
593. 750. All right, so all I've done is I've filled in my table and I'm hoping I've picked the numbers out correctly. Now, labor force participation rate, Mr. Curry, was that the first question?
Yes, sir. Labor force participation rate.
All right, we know the labor force participation.
That'd be labor
Labor-
force over population, correct?
All right, where is it? Where is it? Here, labor force participation rate. You can't see this. Hey, here you go. Right, labor force divided by population. Labor force participation rate, labor force divided by population, Excel spreadsheet, labor force divided by population. So this is labor force divided by population. Labor force is 467,000. Oops, back. Equals 467,000. That's my labor force. Divided by my population is 5,000,000 equals, I got 0.934. What did you get?
Yes, that's correct.
0.0934, which works out to 9.34% when you multiply by 100.
Wait. Hold on. Yeah, 0.934. That's supposed to be 93%. I think you
Yeah,
added an additional zero.
I got a 93.40.
Yeah. You
So
have to
it's
add 4,607,000.
Okay, that's 50 million.
No, that's 500,000 you have now. You have to add a zero on both. I mean, it comes up to the same answer, but
No, it can't come up with the same answer.
no, I mean,
One
if you
answer
were
is
to
right,
take a
one is
zero.
wrong. So it's 4. Okay. Let me get everything. It's 4,670,000 divided by 5,000,000.
Yes, sir. There we go.
93.4%.
Yes.
So the labor force participation rate is the labor force divided by population. Next question, Mr. Curry.
Sorry. The next question is unemployment rate.
Now, unemployment rate, let's go back to our class notes. Unemployment rate, here it is. Unemployed divided by the labor force. So unemployed divided by labor force, back to my Excel spreadsheet, unemployed divided by labor force. So this is equal, unemployed, you said was 866,875 divided by the labor force is 4,670,000. I got 18.56%.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, but is it good?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
find us? Can you find a second?
Boy, I would
Somebody
hope
who would validate your agreement?
Got a
anybody
second.
else agree with me?
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's Denise.
That's all.
All right. Okay. Fine. I'm assuming y'all are not collaborating. All right. So then, next question, Mr. Curry, is cyclical unemployment rate.
Yes, sir.
All right. Here you go here. All right. Cyclical unemployment rate, cyclical unemployment. Here you go. Cyclical unemployment rate, cyclically unemployed divided by labor force. All right. My Excel spreadsheet. Cyclically unemployed divided by labor force, cyclically unemployed, we said was 593,750 divided by the labor force 4,670,000. I got 12.71%.
Yes, sir.
Cool. I don't hear no supporting from Denise, not even Nazma. I mean, not even Pranik. I don't understand.
No.
Well,
No.
They
0.71%
let
is
you carry the
correct.
burden all by yourself.
12.71 is correct.
That's how it is. Go, man.
Oh man, we got this.
Thank you.
Okay, so next one is frictionally unemployed.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me bring up my class notes. frictional unemployed, again, in this case, frictionally unemployed divided by the labor force. So in each case, we're looking at the number of persons unemployed as a percentage of the total labor force. So back to my Excel spreadsheet, frictionally unemployed. My frictionally unemployed persons was 118,750 divided by 4670000. 2.54%.
Yes, sir.
All right, these people are just between jobs, so we would expect this to be small in any case. All right, and then structural unemployment rate. Back to my class notes. Structural unemployment rate is structurally unemployed divided by the labor force. All right, so my Excel spreadsheet, structurally unemployed is equals 142,500 divided by 4670000. I got 3.05%.
That's right.
Hang on a second. Let's see. We said total unemployment rate was 18.56%, right?
Yes.
So if the total unemployment is 18.56%, if 12.71 is cyclically unemployed, 2.54 is frictionally unemployed, and 3.0 is structurally unemployed, when we add them together, they should come up to 18.56%.
In a nutshell, yes.
In a nutshell?
Yes.
I see. Because if we're counting for everybody who we consider unemployed, see, underemployed, we don't count. Discouraged workers, we don't count. Right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sum these up, and if we did it right, I got 18.31%.
Yeah, that's what I got. Me too.
That's what I have. I have 18.3.
Mr. Demerit, would it
So-
be easier to use the E column instead, since it goes to a further degree? No, yes?
Equals sum of these three.
Mm-hmm.
So 18.3%.
Wow.
So
same.
we did something wrong. All right, let's go back. This is 866,875 divided by 467,000, so that's right. This is 593,750, 467,000. Yeah, that's right. 118,750, 142,500. Okay, good. So where did we go wrong?
Okay, Mr. Demerit, based off of my calculation from here, 11,875 people in the total unemployed are unaccounted for. Based off of what I see.
Anyway, fine.
So that would come up to 0.0025%. That would come up to the remainder.
Yeah, but you say they're unaccounted for. We can't have unaccounted people floating around. All right, let's finish our numbers. Maybe something will pop out. What's our underemployment rate? It will be equals 13330,000 divided by 467,000. Wow. Over a quarter of our population is underemployed. That ain't good. Think about it. This means that if you look at, if this is the case of the Bahamas, that means, think of terms of over a quarter of hotel workers working less than 5-day weeks. In essence, that's what that means. Clearly, in a case like that, your economy is not doing as well as it could do because you have a lot of people who are not working the kind of hours that they would want to work. Or you have a lot of people who, have a master's degree but on the back of a garbage truck. Anyway, fine. It is what it is. What about discouraged worker rate? It's discouraged workers divided by labor force. It's equals 406,125 divided by 4,670,000. 8.7%. Yeah, this economy has issues. Think about this for a second. You have actual employment rate of over 18%, right? Remember now when we say unemployment, we only include people who have actually been looking for a job in the last 30 days, right? And then you add in the 8.7%, which is people who ain't been looking for a job in the last 90 days. So right now you up over 26%, 27%. And then you have another 28% of people who have a job but working either part-time or working at jobs well below their capabilities. So that's like half your population struggling. Either ain't working, only working part-time, ain't putting in the full week worth of work, or just give up. And this doesn't even count the people who are bums, who we've gone past that 90 days, past that 3 months, who completely fall off the radar altogether. Yeah, okay. But, I can think of some countries where this will be a very realistic situation. But knock on wood, this ain't us yet. COVID don't count because COVID is, a shock. If where we are now in the Bahamas is still the case 5 years from now, yeah, then we got a real issue. Okay. I would dearly like to know where my couple of thousand people went.
So, Mr. Demaret, the way that I got down to how much people was I used total unemployment and I minus all the other unemployment factors to try to see the difference in people.
No, I understand. There's a certain percentage that we can't account for.
You're right.
I don't like not having people I can't account for.
They might be missing.
I understand. These are, I want to call them bums, but but these people. These are the kind of people who they never finished high school. As far as they're concerned, they could hustle and make it. If you're a guy, if you're a girl, a woman, female, you got friends, who slip you $100 here, $200 there, baby daddy give you money, stuff. People who we can't account for in any other way, but somehow they still surviving. Okay, question is, can you do this exercise again come Wednesday?
Yes, sir.
It's this kind of thing, it's probably gonna take you the weekend.
Yeah,
Probably the
once we have the
weekend, yeah.
weekend. During exam, we have the weekend? Are you serious?
So what's next? Oh, I know you were serious.
Yeah.
Okay, back to our class notes.
Well, that's it for now.
Inflation. So first of all, our definition. I am debating the structure of your midterm.
Yeah,
That
this is
should-
a lot. It's a lot.
No, you guys are all smart, so I'm not that worried about that part of it.
If this was definitions, I would have had no problems. I could have studied them. I could have sit down and had no problems. Remember them?
We will
Yes,
have, okay, your exam is due, is next Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
not this coming Wednesday, the following. So we will have an opportunity to discuss that in detail next week, Monday. And I will be able to lay out very specifically how the shape of that exam comes then. Like I said, I'm still debating some things in my head. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's define what we mean by inflation. Inflation is not just it's not just an increase, it's the rate of change of prices over a defined period, whether we're defining that period as a month, a quarter, or a year. Right? So inflation is how much prices change over a period of time. Right? And inflation normally looks at all the prices in the economy, not just a specific group of prices. Although you can have different aspects of inflation that only looks at various products, when we're talking about inflation in its general form, we're looking at the change in prices of all prices in an economy over a given period of time. Right. In the Bahamas, inflation is measured using the All Bahamas Retail Price Index, usually shortened as RPI for the Retail Price Index. We used to use what's called Consumer Price Index, but it's just a change in the name, in the nomenclature. All right. So let's clearly distinguish inflation versus cost of living, because Bahamians always talk about the cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. Whereas economists, and we as budding economists, we want to focus on the more accurate calculation rather than the more common terminology. Right? The cost of living index, which is also published by the Department of Statistics, it indicates the change in prices, but only of a fixed basket of goods. So the Department of Statistics has determined what they think a basket of goods that the average Bahamian family might consume. And what we call bread basket items or price control items. And then they look at the changes in price of both these bread basket and price control items, and that is what they calculate for the cost of living index. Right. On the other hand, the retail price index takes a much broader, much more comprehensive look at all prices in the economy. As such, economists and we as budding economists, we would want to look at the inflation index as opposed to the cost of living index. Right? Even if you weren't involved in an economic class like this one, you would still want to look at the inflation index or the retail price index compared to the cost of living index, because look at what's in the cost of living index. Bread basket and price control items. I can pretty much guarantee you that none of you on a regular basis consume these items. When you think about some of the things that are in this bread basket price control items, like, I don't know, white Wonder bread, whole loaf. How many of us actually buy white Wonder bread? Right. We buy whole wheat or all kinds of different types of breads, not much. Unless you are very on the lowest end of the socioeconomic scale. All right. What else is in this basket?
Eggs.
No, you know.
Okay.
Well, eggs are in the basket, but eggs are not a price control item. But you know what's else in it? Single ply white toilet paper. Think about it now. Single ply white toilet paper, that, you know, that's the roll that's for about 75 cents or 80 cents in the supermarket. Very thin, and you use like half a roll every time you go to the bathroom. That's what we're talking about. Very few of us actually buy that. Right? It has no ripples, it has no scent, it has no aloe, and it's very thin. You know? And then there's a whole list of items like that that most of us don't consume, right? Because these are very basic items, right? And tend to be consumed by poor persons, for lack of a better term. Right? So for us, as a realistic thing, we would be much more interested in the retail price index, not only because it is more comprehensive, but it includes a lot of the stuff that we would normally consume. Right? It would include a lot of the meats that we would normally consume, a lot of the premium items that we take for granted. Right? So that's what we're talking about. So when we're talking about the retail price index, we want to focus on the index that's looking at the most items that we normally consume. Now, it should be noted that the retail price index is what is called a weighted index. The way the weighted index works, right? Each item that is available for Bahamian consumption is assigned to one of each of 12 categories. Right? And each category has a weight, each item has a weight based on how important it is to that category. And then each category itself has a weight compared to how important it is to the overall economy. Right. The best way to follow this is, let me go to the next slide, you see what I'm talking about. All right. So I know this may be a little difficult to see, but this is the actual retail price index that I took out of the one of the central bank's publication. In fact, this is from the May 2020 Quarterly Statistical Digest. And you would see the categories: food and alcoholic beverages, food and non-alcoholic beverages, sodas, juices, etc., alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics, clothing and footwear, housing, water, gas, electricity, and other fuels. So basically, these are your utilities, furnishing, household equipment, and routine household maintenance, health, transportation, communication, recreation and culture, education, restaurant and hotels, and miscellaneous goods and services. So those are the categories. And if you notice, each category has a weight. For example, food and non-alcoholic beverages has a weight of 102.39. Right? Compared to, let's say, housing, water, gas, electricity has a weight of 321.69. So as you may expect then, if the price, this category is much more important to the overall economy. If you look at the smallest of the categories, which is what? Communications, scratch that. Alcohol, beverages, tobacco, and narcotics. All right. Although, like most of us, I like a good drink every once in a while, and unlike y'all, I also like a good cigar. But this, this category is not terribly important to the overall economy. What that means is that if prices change within this category, it's not going to have a major impact on the overall cost to Bahamian consumers. However, if you look at the housing category, if utility prices go up, all right, electricity, if your rent or your mortgage payment goes up, it's going to have a much bigger impact on your life because it consumes a much larger chunk of your salary. So it's much more important to the overall economy. Similarly, all right, transportation, your car, bus, taxi, whatever it is you're using to get around. Clearly, it is going to be important if gas prices continue to rise. It's going to affect you, which means it's going to affect the economy much more broadly than other issues. Restaurants and hotels, right? We go in terms of these are, you're going out to eat, or you're spending a weekend in a hotel with your significant other. Right? Clearly, change in those prices, you very easily can decide, you know what? Somebody got to cook tonight. We can't afford to be going out this weekend, sort of thing. All right. So you can see how each category has a weight depending on how important it is to the overall economy. But within those categories, individual items within those categories also have their own weights. So again, let's go back to our furniture, household equipment category. You would expect within that category, your mortgage payment will have a much bigger weight than say your routine household maintenance. Let's say, you're painting, once a year because Christmas is coming. Right. Similarly, for housing, water, gas, and electricity, right, you can see how items within that category could be more or less or important to that category. That's all we're talking about. So each item within the category has a weight compared to how important it is in the category, and each category has a weight depending on how important it is to the overall economy. That's why we call it a weighted index. Now, for our purposes, all right, sorry, I went too far. We want to be able to understand that there's a difference between cost of living, the way Bahamians tend to use it, and inflation. And we want to be able to recognize the correct definition for both. Inflation is the rate of change of prices of all items in the economy over a given period of time, with cost of living focused on a narrow basket of items. We also be able to recognize that in the Bahamas, the retail price index is a weighted index. Okay, so what's our next change in direction? We have established an understanding of what the economy actually is and how it operates. Now, we need to start getting deeper into our understanding of the classical economics, what we call Keynesian economics, and it's pronounced like sugar cane, Keynesian economics, how the economy actually operates on a day-to-day basis, and what are some of the changes that we can expect to see happening in the economy in the various markets. And then finally, we will look at actual policies. So we will put ourselves in the position of policymakers, whether that policymaker is sitting in the Ministry of Finance doing fiscal policy, or whether that policymaker is sitting at the central bank dealing with monetary policy. We will put ourselves in the position of the policymakers and see, okay, if we decide on X, Y, and Z, how is that going to affect the economy? Not just whether the economy is going to grow or not, but how it's going to affect different aspects of the economy, and can we trace the impact of our policies as it reverberates through the economy. So first thing we're going to want to be able to properly define then is the two broad schools of economics. We want to define them, what's the difference, and how they look at our economy. Then we're going to look at what happens to the economy in the short run, and then we're going to talk about policy. So this is going to take us probably for the next 2 weeks. Right? So we want to make sure, take our time and get it right. So first things first, let's begin with looking at classical economics. This is economic theory. Classical versus Keynesian economics. Classical economics is the stuff that we've been doing all along at this stage. Right? Classical economics, also known as long-run economics, make a short correction, assumes that there are strong forces in the economy that would continually push the economy towards equilibrium. Okay. Think about it this way. Let's say there's an economic shock, like COVID. There is an enormous dislocation. That is, a lot of people lost their jobs. Let's say you're one of those individuals, right? And you had this very nice job in a hotel making good money, right? Job gone. What do? Well, what you cannot do is just sit at home indefinitely. Why? Because you got bills to pay, children to feed, right? You got stuff to take care of. Life goes on. Classical economics and classical economists are saying, yes. So what happens? Sooner or later, you're gonna have to find another job because you got bills to pay. So sooner or later, the people who are not working, unemployment, is going, full employment, people are going to get back to work. Now, it may not be that you get the same job you had before, making the same money you were making before, but you're back working, making money and paying your bills. So classical economist says, we assume that in the long run, there are forces that says that's going to push you to go back to work because you got bills. And if you extrapolate that to the economy as a whole, they're saying in the long run, there's strong forces in the economy that's going to push the economy back to equilibrium. Right. Let me give you another example. All right. In your last homework, you did some exercises on shortages and surpluses. Right. So let's assume, for example, for a moment, that there is a shortage. Right. So we are no longer, that market, whatever this market is no longer at equilibrium. There's a shortage. What does a shortage mean? A shortage means that demand is greater than supply. I think in your homework, we had, maybe it was in a handout, we talked about this Ford F-150 truck. All right. And for some reason, it's not the case now, but a few years ago, this was a really big thing for young guys. Let's say 18 to 30. Everybody wanted one of these big trucks. Right? Friendly Ford brought in only a fixed amount of trucks per month. Right? The demand for these trucks always exceeded the supply available because, remember now, it takes a while for a new shipment to come in. So if, let's say, Friendly Ford prices these trucks at $60,000. Right. So that was their manufacturer suggested retail price. Right. But at that price, they have more guys coming in to buy these trucks than they have trucks available. Here's a question for you. What will Friendly Ford do? Anyone? More people are coming in looking for these trucks than you have trucks available on the lot.
Jack the price up.
Jack the price up. So
Increase the amount.
let's say before you get that, you have, let's say you have me. I want a truck, all right? Ford F-150 truck. I go to the dealer and he said, we're all committed. All the trucks that we have, we already have buyers for them at the $60,000 price. Maybe I slip him a couple of dollars.
65 sound good.
Okay, well, I can start at 61. I may go up to 65 eventually. But the point is, I may make sure to give him a couple of extra, maybe under the table, maybe above the table, to make sure now that I get a truck. What does that mean for the price of Ford F-150 trucks by Friendly Ford? The price is no longer $60,000. Think about this now. As soon as he sells the truck for $65,000, the average cost of those trucks have gone up. Why now would he ever accept $60,000 from the next guy coming along when he know he can sell that truck for $65,000? And let's say now, trucks are now $65,000. There are going to be some people who could afford $60,000, at least could have gotten a loan for $60,000, can get the loan for $65,000. Right. So that means demand falls at this new price, at $65,000. At the same time, what does Friendly Ford do? For next shipment, we bring in a few more trucks because I can now sell these trucks at $65,000. Some people who were able to afford it at $60,000 can't afford it at $65,000, so demand falls. Friendly Ford is going to bring in more trucks to try and sell it at $65,000, so supply goes up. So now, what was a shortage may now be a smaller shortage, because some of the people who wanted this truck fall out because they no longer afford it at $65,000. But as long as there are more people who want this truck than there are trucks available, the price is going to continue to creep up. And as the price creeps up, Friendly Ford is going to bring in more trucks to sell at these higher price, and more people are going to say that's too rich for my blood. Demand is going to fall, supply is going to go up, and that is going to continue to change until we settle on a price at which demand is exactly equal to supply. And that might be at 70,000, that might be 72,000, 70, we don't know. But at some point, there's going to be a price that Friendly Ford is going to charge, and they will sell exactly the number of trucks that they brought in. And there won't be anybody else coming in looking for a truck at that price that can't get it. At that point, demand will be exactly equal to supply. So in essence, classical economists have said these things, without anybody doing anything, market forces will force this market back into equilibrium. That's what classical economists are saying, and saying not just for, in this case, the truck market, but for the economy as a whole. Classical economists are saying in the long run, the economy will always be at full employment because there will always be these forces trying to push us back to equilibrium. All right. So classical economists, last line here, assume that wages and prices will adjust quickly and freely to changes in demand. Friendly Ford will be able to adjust its price upward and increase the amount of trucks it's bringing in, and individuals would be able to adjust their demand for these more expensive trucks downward, right, until the market reaches equilibrium. That wages and prices will adjust quickly and freely to changes in demand. You may see this also in terms of, let's say we're talking about, if you go out, not some Awaki, I don't say Awaki, Montague, they sell fish, all right? If you go there first thing in the morning when these guys just come in, right, there's a certain price that you can pay for fish, right? But as you would note, as the day wears on and it's getting towards evening, the price of them fish is going to fall. Because the last thing the fishermen want is to take home more fish to put in his freezer. Because, you know, if you try and bring them same fish back tomorrow, your baby's gonna look at that glassy eye fish and say, no, that's old fish. I like fresh fish. And he certainly doesn't want to stock up his fridge with more fish, because his significant other is suckered and said fish again. I don't want fish, I want money. Right? So you're going to see, again, in a market like that, you see there's an adjustment in demand and prices over time, because he wants to, at the end of the evening, he wants to be sell out his fish completely. And even if I get, even if I show up there at 7 o'clock in the evening, I would like to be able, there's still some fish available for me to buy. So there has to be this adjustment, and classical economists said this adjustment will take place over the economy as a whole. So everything we know about economics to this point tells us that the classical economists are correct. Right? That the economy will adjust. Individuals have every incentive to return to work, even if it's at a lower wage. Right? Eventually, we will get back to full employment. Right? People can't stay out of work indefinitely. So then what's the problem? The Keynesian economists, and the Keynesian economist is named after an economist, John Maynard Keynes, who won the Nobel Prize in economics. John Maynard Keynes, Keynesian economists look at the economy in the short run. They are short-run economists. And they don't disagree with the classical economists. They said, while we accept and believe that while the economy will return to full employment eventually, that these people will eventually find a job, the problem is that prices and wages can be sticky. Classical economists says, we accept in the long run, if Casimir loses her job, eventually she's going to have to find a job sooner or later. But Keynesian economist says in the short run, her and her family have problems. All right. So we can't just simply wait in the long run. We need to see what we can do about addressing these problems in the short run. Because Keynesian is famous for saying, in the long run, we're all dead. Right? We focus on the short run. Right? So Keynesian economists, also known as short-run economists, assert that while the economy will return to full employment eventually, because prices and wages can be sticky, there's likely to be some persistent disequilibrium, which is economic speak for ongoing unemployment. Right? So Keynesian economists are saying, listen, let's say you have a COVID shock like we have it now. Right? Classical economist says, government doesn't have to do anything, all right? Eventually, the economy is going to fix itself. All those people who are not working now, eventually they're going to get to the point where they got to find some kind of job, any kind of money, hustle, bag, whatever it is, they need money. So they can find a job. Right. Keynesian economist says, yes, that's true. But in the meantime, you got a ton of people unemployed, ton of people who got children to feed, ton of people who got groceries they need to buy, ton of people who got bills to pay. What you can do with them? Right. So Keynesian economist says in the short run, there's a role for government to play. They said in the short run, government is there to help the market return to equilibrium by doing something about unemployment. So if there's a role for government, it's in the short run trying to sort of help people along until they get back on their feet. Classical economists assume that people are going to get back on their feet eventually, by hook or by crook, one way or the other. Keynesian economist says government has a role to help people until things turn around. That's the difference between the short run and the long run economists. The short run economists do not disagree with the economic theory, but they said, yeah, we understand the economic theory, but in the short run, we got issues that need to be addressed, and we think that's where government can come in. Any questions so far? Okay, so 7:54. I'm gonna call it there because we're gonna start playing with some math. And I usually don't like to play with math at the end of class. I like people's brains to be fresh as can be. So we will pause there. We'll pick it up on Wednesday. I will try and send you your new homework probably tomorrow, or at least Wednesday morning, so you have a chance to look at it and any questions you may have on it when we meet again on Wednesday evening. All right? Okay. Any questions before we call it a night?
I do have a question.
Let's see. Hang on. All I see is user.
Sorry, this is Christina Curry. I don't know why it shows up like that.
Okay. All right, wondering who that was. Yes, Christina.
Okay, so I do have a question. I feel like your answer might be I have to refer to the school for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask you because I feel like I can ask you this. I took a look at the BIFS website today, and I do see that the microeconomics class is starting June 14th or June 21st. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm also pretty sure. Are you the lecturer for that class?
I am.
So for persons who are still in the macroeconomics course.
That's gonna get pushed back. The beginning of that class is gonna get pushed back.
Okay, and I guess that's the answer for my next question, because the midterm exam that we're talking about is, you're saying the next week, the following week.
You sure it says June 20, whatever it is?
According to the website.
I don't disbelieve you, but okay.
Yeah, according to the website, that's what they have on the website. And so the midterm exam, if the date is on the 9th, correct me if I'm wrong, that's a Wednesday. Yeah.
And the final exam is about 2 weeks later.
Okay, that was my follow-up question.
Yeah.
That's June 21st.
What I do like to do, I do like to bring your midterm relatively close to your final, and then use the midterm sometimes as a mock final.
Okay.
So that there's a relatively small amount of work between the midterm and the final. That won't be the case in the summers because it's just the time period is so short. So there's still going to be quite a bit of work for the last 2 weeks. We're probably going to be working right up until the last day of class.
Okay.
Sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Merritt. Finals are on June 21st, correct?
I think I want to push that back, to the
30.
Yeah, maybe push it back to the 23rd. I'll see how much we cover between now and then, but I feel good about where we are. I tend to be ambitious about the syllabus, and add stuff that I'm hoping we get to cover. It never actually works out, but I'm hoping one of these days for sure, I'm going to get all the stuff that I want to get done, but we'll see. But yes, I am doing the micro class as well, and it follows. I don't think you have any break at all between the two. Maybe I think the exam is if we put it on the Wednesday, the micro would start the following Monday.
But that would be the class to be taken after this particular class.
If you're doing the degree, yes. If you're only doing the certificate, you don't have to do micro.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, and one more question with regard to the two examinations. Given the fact that we are virtual, I don't know if I missed this part, if this was already stated, but given the fact that we are virtual, will exam
Okay. I know what you're going to ask, and the answer is it has not been decided by the schools yet, whether the final exam would be in person with appropriate spacing, or there is a program that allows you to do the final exam as a timed exam.
Mhm.
Yeah, which means that when time is up, you're not able to input any more answers.
Okay, can I?
All right. But like I said, I will know better before we get to that point.
Mr. Demera, I'll raise my hands because in my area, BPL is be freaking out. I know that's a concern in everybody's mind when you start talking about taking an exam.
When you say
online.
BP, you mean access?
Yeah, and BTC as well with internet.
Understand. We do have some. Sorry, Ms. Clinton. Okay, you were breaking up. Okay, let me put it. We do have some discretion. Right? If the class as a whole, and it has to be a decision by the class as a whole, would prefer taking the exam in person with appropriate spacing and all the protocols, then I can work that out with the school. Yeah. But like I said, why don't we table this discussion until we have gotten through the midterm? That way we're in the last 2 weeks of class and, we will have an opportunity to think about whether or not we want to do the timed exam virtually, or whether we think we will suck it up and take an in-person exam for the 2 or 2.5 hours or 3 hours that the exam will take. All right, but something to think about. We will come back to it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Anything else?
No, that's all for me.
All right, folks, then I will see if I can grade your homework between today and tomorrow, well, tomorrow, and I will send you your new homework at some point tomorrow or first thing on Wednesday. All right, folks, you have a good evening. I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Good night.